Minato is a young man who could be considered unlucky in many ways. His appearance is not striking, often deemed unattractive by some, and he also lacks a charismatic aura. His otherwise ordinary life changes drastically when suddenly 5 very powerful criminals start targeting him. This story begins in Taito, a district in Japan's capital city, Tokyo. While most students his age celebrate their acceptance into college, 19-year-old Minato fails his entrance exam for the second time. After delivering this bad news to his mother, Minato nearly gets kicked out of the house. In despair, he watches a news broadcast about the CEO of MBI planning to buy up much of the capital. The news only adds to his anxiety as Minato boards the train home. During the ride, Minato's gaze is fixed on the towering MBI building, but upon arriving at the station, something unexpected happens. As Minato is walking home, he suddenly hears a scream. He looks up, and in just seconds, his body is tackled by a girl. After freeing himself from the situation, the girl thanks him for cushioning her fall. Still dazed, Minato tries to talk to her, but things get even stranger when he accidentally grabs something he shouldn't. Suddenly, she pushes him away from a massive explosion that just happened, and Minato nearly ends up with a broken nose from colliding with an unexpected part of her body. It turns out their attackers are a pair of twins who seem very eager to fight. However, Minato, clearly unprepared, keeps trying to refuse. Before the twins can make another move, the girl quickly grabs Minato and runs, dragging him along like hauling a rubber boat in a rapid current. The next morning, Minato wakes up in a panic. That morning, he runs away again, as has become his usual routine. After the girl woke up, she thanked Minato for his help while returning the clothes she had borrowed. However, Minato's focus was distracted by her melon-like chest that seemed to defy gravity, making his mind whirl. She spoke casually, and Minato immediately dashed toward the door, trying to make sense of all the strange events. As his thoughts started to clear, memories of the Thunder Twins, the twin girls who attacked him, resurfaced. Minato remembered how they had almost killed him the day before. It turned out that after escaping them, he had fainted, and the girl, who later introduced herself as Musubi, had saved him. As Musubi spoke, Minato found it hard to concentrate because her chest was only inches away from his face. However, the atmosphere suddenly took a strange turn. Musubi suddenly fainted and woke up again in Minato's house. After that, they ate burgers together, and Minato felt uncomfortable when Musubi thanked him again. While finishing his burger, Minato thought back to the Thunder Twins and tried to ask Musubi about them. But instead, Musubi mentioned that she was homeless and asked if she could stay at Minato's house. Without much thought, Minato agreed. However, before he could dig deeper about the Thunder Twins, Musubi suddenly brought up something he didn't understand about him being her Ashikabi. Just as Minato was about to ask what she meant, Musubi grabbed his hand and placed it right on the edge of her chest, leaving Minato even more bewildered. Soon after, Minato found himself outside, reflecting, when the landlord approached, asking if he had a guest. With a stern tone, the landlord reminded him of the no couples rule. Minato could only surrender as Musubi came out to apologize for the earlier incident. Feeling hungry again, they decided to go eat at a restaurant. However, with Minato's monthly allowance nearly depleted, he said he would go to the bank while Musubi went to buy groceries. On his way to the bank, Minato ran into the Thunder Twins again, who immediately started interrogating him about Musubi. As the situation heated up, Musubi appeared running with her large chest, making things even more chaotic. When the Thunder Twins saw her, they immediately joined forces and attacked with a lightning strike that nearly scorched her chest. They mentioned something about Musubi not yet having her wings, before preparing for a second attack. But Minato acted quickly, pushing Musubi out of harm's way just in time. After narrowly dodging, Musubi felt something strange. Her love sensor started to react due to Minato's aura affecting her feelings. However, Musubi couldn't hear Minato telling her to run. Finally, Minato picked Musubi up and ran, dodging explosions from the Thunder Twins until they finally reached a narrow alley. There, Musubi tried to catch her breath, but somehow lost control. Musubi suddenly pushed Minato against the wall, pleading for Minato to touch her again in that spot. After Musubi pushed Minato down and pressed his hand back onto her chest, Minato almost gave in to what Musubi wanted. But the moment didn't last long as Hikari and Hibiki, the Thunder Twins, suddenly cornered them, ensuring they couldn't escape. Musubi, no longer caring about the danger, began to approach Minato with full determination. Hikari and Hibiki rushed to stop Musubi, but it was too late. As Musubi and Minato began exchanging mouthfuls of saliva with intensity, wings of light suddenly appeared spectacularly on Musubi's back. That moment changed everything. Hikari, seemingly annoyed, pulled Minato back and nearly scorched his face with a lightning strike, but Musubi firmly told her to stop. In a fit of anger, Musubi charged straight toward Hikari, but Hikari threw Minato aside and managed to block Musubi's punch. After a brief struggle, Hikari and Hibiki decided to retreat, commenting that they don't fight girls who already have wings. With that, the twins left them, just reaching the alleyway when they crossed paths with Hamura, a figure just as intimidating. Hamura, without any small talk, mocked the Thunder Twins for trying to attack Musubi before she had her wings. The twins felt challenged, but when Hamura asked if they really wanted to try fighting him, their courage instantly faded. Fearful, they backed off and left the place, while Musubi, now with her wings, decided to let them go. That evening, Minato called his sister, asking for some clothes so Musubi wouldn't have to keep wearing the only outfit she owned. After the call, Minato sat down, gazing at the rice cake he was cooking, his mind full of thoughts about what had just happened with the Thunder Twins. As Minato was lost in thought, suddenly, his television turned on by itself. Minato, who was about to turn it off, was shocked when a man on the screen told him to listen. Musubi, who recognized the man, said she knew who the professor on the TV was, and after a closer look, Minato remembered the news broadcast he had seen the day before. The CEO professor then informed Minato that he had been chosen to be a Sekirei partner. Calmly, the CEO professor explained that Minato was now part of a dangerous game where Sekirei like Musubi had to fight each other with the help of their partners. Before signing off, the professor warned Minato to keep everything a secret. Otherwise, he would reveal everything himself. A short while later, Minato received a box from MBI and immediately thought there was a hidden motive behind it. Maybe those criminals were trying to get to him again. However, it turned out that the box contained new clothes for Musubi. As Minato prepared to leave to give Musubi some space, she instead called him back, making a serious vow of loyalty to him. Their emotional moment was quickly interrupted by the appearance of the landlord, who had been suspicious of them for some time. This time, the landlord decided to actually evict them, leaving Minato and Musubi without a place to stay. The next day, the two of them tried speaking with a new landlord, hoping to find a suitable place to stay. Unfortunately, that hope faded as the landlord turned them down. Even as night fell, they had only managed to find a spare bench in a park after being rejected by more than 30 landlords. As the rain began to fall, Minato, tired and desperate, told Musubi to reconsider her choice. Minato felt unworthy of being Musubi's partner because he was just a broker. With low testosterone, he lacked the ability to fight or protect. But Musubi responded calmly, saying she wasn't the type to seek material things. Then, without further ado, Musubi silenced Minato's complaints with a kiss. That kiss activated Musubi's wings, and a sudden surge of incredible power appeared. Musubi used her power and recited the Sekirei prayer. In an instant, Musubi created a tornado that lifted them above the clouds, soaring high into the sky. That night, somewhere deep in the forest, a young girl cried out for help, trapped in the darkness. Meanwhile, Minato and Musubi only spent a few seconds floating in the upper atmosphere before gravity took over, pulling them both back toward the earth like two lovebirds that had flown too high. During their descent, Minato saw a young girl before they crashed into a tree and landed on the ground. Just then, a woman from the complex appeared, asking with a curious tone who they really were. But Minato had no answer. A little later, Minato was helped by Hamura to clean up after the rather chaotic incident. When Hamura asked what had actually happened, Minato suddenly remembered the professor's threat and casually blamed the bad weather for everything. Right at that moment, Musubi came out of the room, wearing a beautiful kimono she had just received from Mia. After thanking Mia, they briefly thought that Hamura was Mia's husband, but in reality, Mia's husband had passed away a long time ago. Forgetting that they were just boarders temporarily staying there, Musubi innocently asked what Mia was cooking. Luckily, Mia was a very kind-hearted person and happily prepared a plate of food for the two of them. While enjoying their first meal of the day, a girl with a large melon, seemingly unaffected by gravity, suddenly appeared and joined them at the table. Minato, curious, asked Mia if they were all related, but Mia explained that they were actually just tenants. Yuzum, who was also there, commented that the boarding house was starting to look like a chaotic home and that Mia might almost evict them. Minato immediately pleaded with Mia to give them a room so they would have a place to stay. Easily, Mia agreed to give them a room. However, Hamura, who seemed a bit skeptical, asked Mia if she had really started using crack, considering her sudden generosity. Mia just laughed and explained that she only wanted to honor the kindness of her late husband and that she genuinely liked Minato and Musubi, so she decided to let them stay. Hamura eventually left dinner after receiving an important work-related call. After heading back to his place post-dinner, Musubi was showering while Minato watched television. After that, Minato called his mother to let her know about his move and to ask for some money. However, the conversation ended badly. His mother called him useless and abruptly hung up. With his thoughts in turmoil, Minato reflected on all of Musubi's plans, trying to make sense of what was happening until Musubi suddenly came out of the bathroom and asked for shampoo. That night, in the park, a beautiful homeless woman was trying to sleep on a bench when a man approached and harassed her, asking her to be his slap toy. The scene was just one example of guys trying to turn her into a joke, but no one found it funny. The next day, Yukari came to Minato's place, bringing the clothes he'd requested. When Minato asked why Yukari didn't just send them over, Yukari explained that she'd been accepted into a nearby college and wanted to check it out firsthand. Yukari had purposely avoided telling Minato over the phone so he wouldn't feel pressured again by all his past failures. After Musubi came to see Minato and almost revealed their secret, Musubi quickly tried on the clothes Yukari had brought. Shortly after, Musubi joined them. As Yukari was about to leave, she joked about Musubi's large chest, teasing that Minato must be proud of what he's seeing. Then, Musubi effortlessly lifted the packed items, explaining that, as a boxing-type fighter, she had super strength, which made it easy for her to carry all their stuff as they walked to the boarding house. When they arrived at the boarding house, Mia greeted them warmly and showed them their room. Minato nearly ran out of breath helping Musubi lift their things into the room. After Mia left, Minato reminded Musubi to keep her Sakurai powers a secret so no one would find out. Musubi promised to keep it safe, though Minato had to remind himself that he was supposed to be the man in this relationship. As they sat in their room, a loner watched their every move from his surveillance space. When Minato and Musubi went downstairs for dinner, Hamura decided to skip and disappeared somewhere. Mia then shared stories about her busy life as a host at a unique club, sparking Minato's curiosity. Minato asked Musubi if she knew what Mia meant, and Musubi innocently replied that she could show him a few tricks she'd seen online. The bizarre images that popped into Minato's mind almost made his cultural logic explode, and as he tried to stop his nose from bleeding, Mia told Musubi to take a bath so she wouldn't smell like fish. Musubi and Minato went to check out the bathroom together, and Musubi tried to persuade Minato to shower with her, but Minato eventually chose to sit on the porch instead. While sitting outside, Minato recalled the strange incident from the previous night when they had fallen from a height. Minato decided to examine the tree where it happened. As he touched the tree, Minato suddenly saw the shadow of a little girl from that night pleading for his help. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, Yuzum was rinsing her back, and Musubi realized that Yuzum was also a Sakurai. Sensing something unusual, Musubi suddenly started attacking Yuzum. Outside, as Minato tried to understand what he had just seen, he suddenly spotted Yuzum leaping out of the window, winking at him as she landed gracefully on the fence. Minato was shocked to learn that Yuzum had been attacked by Musubi. Musubi didn't hold back. She immediately leaped and told Yuzum to stay away from Minato. Just as Musubi was about to land a punch, Mia appeared and stopped her by hitting her with a spoon. Mia explained that there was a no-violence policy in place, emitting such a terrifying aura that everyone fell silent in fear. After that, Mia calmly went back inside the house. Outside at the construction site that night, the workers received a mysterious text message about a new Sakurai arriving in town. That night, a blonde girl stood at the edge of the forest in the botanical garden, her gaze drifting toward the trees as Hamura suddenly appeared. With a confident demeanor, the girl challenged Hamura to a duel. However, Hamura was cleverer. He threw a smoke bomb and escaped, telling the girl to find an opponent her own size. Later that night, Minato fell asleep and had a strange dream. In his dream, he walked through a quiet forest until he saw a girl on a tree branch. Without a second thought, Minato helped her, using his body to break her fall. The girl, who turned out to be Kusano, began to cry. Amid her sobs, Kusano blamed herself for something mysterious and pleaded with Minato to help her, before suddenly being pulled back into the forest. Minato woke up from his dream and saw Musubi beside him, talking about the strange events she had experienced last night, which only made Minato more confused. Meanwhile, in the forest on the same night, Kusano also drifted back into her own dream. In her dream, Kusano recalled the times she played outside until Takami called her and brought her back to the lab. On the way back, Kusano talked about her discovery of Ashikabe, but suddenly Yomi appeared and easily defeated Takami. Ashikabe then tried to take Kusano, and in her panic, Kusano almost tore at her own face. Her intense fear created the forest that now became her prison, the forest where she was trapped. The next morning, Minato woke up and began thinking about the strange dream from the previous night. Musubi woke up too and casually started folding the futon, enjoying the bright morning view. However, the morning silence was soon broken by the sound of a sharp slash. Curious, Minato and Musubi rushed to the balcony to see Mia cutting leaves with her sword. Mesmerized by Mia's skill, Musubi didn't hesitate to leap from the balcony. Her melons seemed to defy gravity as she landed gracefully. Without any hesitation, Musubi immediately challenged Mia to a fight. Worried about Musubi's safety, Minato ran downstairs and arrived just in time to see Mia easily dodging Musubi's first punch. Yuzum, also drawn by the commotion, came outside to see. When Yuzum tried to stop the fight, Mia simply told her to keep quiet and watch. While Mia was teaching Musubi a lesson, Yuzum used the moment to approach Minato and gently whispered that she was ready to clap if Minato wanted. Minato could only stand in shock at how easily Yuzum approached him and tried to flirt so openly. Suddenly, Minato realized he was already late for work. After a long, hard day at the construction site, Minato finally got to sit down on a bench and open the bento box Mia had given him before he left. When Minato saw the food Mia had prepared for him, he couldn't hold back his tears. Next to him, A co-worker could only stare with drooling envy. Feeling sorry, Minato offered a rice ball to his co-worker. They introduced themselves and talked about how tough life was, especially with the challenging economy. In the middle of their conversation, the lightning twins suddenly appeared. Without hesitation, Hikari ran up and delivered a solid kick to Sio's face. Apologizing to Minato for Sio's slightly rude behavior, they recognized each other. Minato, taken aback, dropped his lunchbox. As an apology, Hikari gave him a piece of bread. However, Sio suddenly grabbed both of them, claiming they were his former partners. In an instant, they were shocked by electricity because of Sio's overly aggressive grip on both of them. Shortly after, Hamura received a call from Takemi. From the call, Hamura learned that the Ashikabe would be hunting Kusano in the park that night, trying to claim her after the broadcast message was sent out. At night, Minato tried to talk to Sio, asking if he'd also seen the message about Kusano. Just then, they saw an MBI cargo helicopter flying above them. Their boss immediately ordered everyone to go home, as an evacuation warning had been announced. A few moments later, Sio told Minato to go to the park with him. Minato realized that the evacuation warning was just a tactic to give them a chance to capture Kusano. Meanwhile, at Mia's place, Musubi found Minato's cell in the house and immediately informed Mia before heading out to deliver the cell to him. Elsewhere, the lightning twins blew up an MBI tank outside the park. Minato started doubting their intentions, but it was too late to back out, so they continued entering the park together. Inside, Minato saw a projection of Kusano, giving them directions. Minato quickly informed Sio, and the two decided to go save her. At the park entrance, Hamura appeared but turned away when he heard the voice of Yomi, a Sekirei from Kusano's past. Hamura prepared to fight, but Yomi called Anikitsu, a beautiful homeless woman from the park, who used her eye power to attack Hamura. After Yomi left, Hamura noticed the Sekirei mark on Akitsu's forehead and wondered if she was the cursed number. At that moment, Hamura heard someone calling his name, and it was Musubi, who then apologized for her mistakes and wished him luck before jumping into the park. While walking with Minato, Sio asked if he knew how a Sekirei could get their wings. Sio explained that some Ashikabi force Sekirei to become theirs by exchanging mouth fluids without consent. Sio wanted to help Minato because he felt that Minato's connection with Kusano was fate. Inside the cave, Yomi tried to pull Kusano out, but Minato sensed something was wrong. With all his strength, Minato ran into the cave and tried to rescue Kusano. When Kusano refused to leave, Yomi was about to attack her, but Minato arrived just in time and stopped her in an unexpected way by grabbing her melon. However, the lightning twins arrived and shocked them with a current of 1,000,000 volts. As Yomi began mocking Sio, Hikari responded with tears in her eyes. Amid the chaos, Minato finally managed to reunite with Kusano before she fainted in his arms. Unfortunately, Yomi managed to escape from Sio and demanded that Minato hand her over. Sio stopped the twins from interfering. When Yomi swung her Grim Reaper staff with the intent to attack, Musubi quickly caught the staff with her bare hands and, without difficulty, broke it in two. But before anyone could react, an increasingly frustrated Yomi immediately retaliated with an energy blast that knocked Musubi down. In the midst of the fight, Musubi managed to land several solid punches on Yomi. But unfortunately, the attack was not enough to protect her from Yomi's energy slash that tore some of her clothes, exposing Musubi's melon as well. Meanwhile, Sio could only watch in silence at the scene. Yomi, with a confused look, couldn't believe how a coward like Minato could be paired with such a strong Musubi. Amid the tension, Yomi, without hesitation, ripped the remaining clothing off Musubi, aiming for her exposed body to cover the situation. As Yomi prepared to launch her final attack, Minato urged Musubi to run away immediately. However, when the dust began to settle, Musubi jumped forward, protecting Minato and attacking Yomi. Using the techniques she had learned from Maida, Minato was able to dodge the previous attacks and successfully tore Yomi's clothes. Musubi then used the prayer to absorb Yomi's wings while simultaneously erasing Yomi's Sekirei mark in the process. Elsewhere, Akitsu could sense Yomi's absence and quickly left her fight with Hamura to search for Yomi. After Minato, Musubi, and Kusano returned home, Minato told Mia that Kusano was like a relative's child. A little while later, they sat on the porch, talking about the first time Minato saw Kusano before she fell into a tree. While stroking Kusano's head and thanking her for saving him, Minato then asked Kusano to be his Ashikabi. They exchanged mouth fluids, and Kusano got her wings.